Claire and Bethany Go to the Bar. A short story by Nicholas Vrakar. Late into the evening, in a clearing deep inside an abandoned park filled with fog, the librarian assistant Claire and the succubus Bethany stood outside an oversized mausoleum. There was a sign above the door that read, "The Gorgon's Goblet." Bethany said, "This is the bar." Claire asked, "This is the bar?" "Yeah." "It would have been easier to just go to my library. I could have gotten us a discount on drinks." Bethany said, "We're not going to..." "Wait, your library has a bar?" "How else do you expect me to properly pair a person's reading material with their alcohol of choice?" "You pair drinks with books?" Claire said, "More to sip than to drink." "What do you pair with Ernest Hemingway?" "Depends on your taste, but mostly whiskey. Bourbon if you like something harder, peanut butter whiskey to soften it up." Bethany asked, "Stephen King?" "An old-fashioned." "Lauren Forey?" "A draft beer, never bottled." There was a large man standing outside the front door that led into the Goblet, wearing a pair of black shoes, black pants, and a white undershirt. There was a short table set beside him, and in the center of the table there was a bowl of mints. Bethany walked up to him and said, "Chuck?" Chuck said, "Bethany." "Who's the leash?" "A friend." "I didn't know you had friends." "Oh, just give us a mint already." He reached into the bowl and handed Bethany 2 mints. Bethany turned to Claire and said, "Put this in your mouth." Claire said, "I know how mints work." She took the mint, pulled it out of the wrapper, and plopped it on her tongue. "Good." Bethany popped her own mint into her mouth. As Claire walked up to the door, she heard someone else approaching the doorman, being offered a mint, and turning it down. But their conversation was drowned out as Bethany opened the door to the Gorgon's Goblet. The noise from within that had been sealed so tight now spilled out into the night air, and all its bass beats and synth piano and a voice that sounded like electric distortion were temporarily freed from their confines. The inside of the goblet was bigger than Claire had expected. On one side there was a wide but short stage. There was a single microphone set at the front of the stage, but no one was using it, and large speakers on the sides pointed out to the rest of the goblet. Tables and chairs filled the other side. At the back there was the bar, wooden at its base, glass for its counter. A wall of drinks went up nearly a dozen feet, and in the dim lights of the inside of the goblet she could see a ladder set aside for the bottles on the top shelves. Bethany found a seat at the bar, and Claire sat beside her. Bethany said, "I'll be right back." "Where are you going?" "I've got to talk to someone downstairs." Claire said, "So you didn't just want to go to any bar?" "Well, any bar would have been good, but since I saw the park, I figured why not." "Has the park always been so spooky?" Bethany shrugged. "Times change, I guess. Be right back. Get something to drink. Get something for me to drink." She turned and looked back. "Actually, I'll get myself a drink," and then walked away. Claire turned to the bar and saw the bartender, and immediately noticed the dozens of snakes that emerged from the bartender's head. The bartender stood behind the bar, leaning against it. She wore a short dress that would have been revealing if Claire could pull her eyes away from the bartender's green skin, red eyes, and the snakes that coiled about each other, framing her narrow face. The bartender said, "What can I get for you, babe?" Claire opened her mouth, and there was nothing. She raised her hand, hoping the motion would draw inspiration, and still more nothing. She felt the mint fall back into her throat and nearly choked. "Don't choke on the mint!" She coughed the mint back up into her mouth and pushed it to the side with her tongue. "Sorry." "You don't have to apologize. Is this your first time?" "At a bar?" "At this bar." "Yes, definitely first time." The bartender squealed. "That's great. We never get enough new customers. My name's Sophia. I'm the bartender and proprietor of this place. And you?" Claire realized she was staring at a trailing snake and focused on Sophia's eyes. I'm Claire. What do you do? I work at a library. I'm an assistant there. We also have a bar at the library. That's fun. What can I get for you? A mixed drink? Maybe a beer to start off? We have specials. Sophia motioned to a menu set on the bar. Claire looked over the menu and quickly pointed at an option. Gorgon's Delight. Coming right up. In this case, right up meant a few minutes of ingredient chasing, blending pieces of pineapple, strawberry, and peach, adding a splash of vodka, tossing in crushed ice, all blended until smooth. Cheers, babe. Claire picked up the glass, took a sip, and fell in love. It's delightful. That's the idea, but I'm always glad when new people like my specials. Why did you open up a bar in the middle of an abandoned park, in a mausoleum? Sophia shrugged. The rent was cheap. To be honest, it's not my first business venture that's turned sour. Claire said, I'm sorry. No, it's all on me. Turns out there wasn't that much of a demand for a salon for gorgons, or a snake petting zoo. There was actually a surprising amount of demand for venom, but I got out of that business real quick. What happened? Sophia said, untrustworthy, dastardly people using my homemade venom for insidious deeds, and damn it, Chuck, I made another guy hard. Claire looked over and saw a man sitting on the seat beside her. He had turned completely to stone. Chuck walked over to the bar and looked over the man turned to stone. The man wore a business suit with a dinner jacket, and was in the middle of taking his jacket off when he had solidified. Sophia asked, Did you offer him a mint? I gave him a mint. Why does he not have a mint in his mouth? I don't know. Did you specifically said if he didn't suck on the mint he would turn to stone? Chuck thought back. I might have forgotten that part. Sophia said, Damn it, Chuck. Help me find a deep petrification ring. Chuck groaned as he stepped in the back behind the bar. When he emerged, he was holding a small ring with a bronze band that looked like a serpent coiled around itself. He handed Sophia the ring. She walked around the bar, found an extended finger that would fit, and slid the ring over the man's finger. The stone texture receded, but it took him a couple of seconds to move, and then cough, and then sputter. He shook his head and his wavy hair sorted itself out. That's the stuff. He took his mint out of his pocket and tossed it into his mouth. Sophia asked, You know what the mint is for? For after. Being turned into stone is the only thing that gets me going these days. She shook her head. Damn petrification fetishists. Get out. The man asked, Can I get a drink? She glared at him. What'll it be? How about a Gorgon's Delight? Fine. She turned away and went about the business of mixing him a drink. The man turned to Claire and said, I haven't seen you around here. Claire shrugged. Nope. I'm John. My friends call me Jimmy. Want to know about trees? I can tell you all about trees and cutting them down. I own a log cutting business. It's a pretty big one. You've probably heard of it. Harold and Sons Log Cutting. It's a really big thing. Big wood is the only economically viable choice a person can make in these dark times. I can take you around the site if you want, and then who knows where we go from that end. Bethany exclaimed, Excuse me, Claire? She stepped in front of John and pulled Claire away from the bar. Claire reached back and grabbed her drink. She followed Bethany out to a table in the middle of the bar. Do I have to constantly save you? I'm pretty sure all of my problems tonight have been caused because I followed you. Bethany was about to argue, but stopped herself. That's fair. The end.